I was able to get Cosmic Casuals, at least a few pages of Cosmic Casuals, critiqued by a professional.
What I would do here is just focus on the one leg, powering up, and then shoots off towards him and like...
I really felt stagnant in my work. It's been a few years since I graduated college and did any sort of school, and I definitely miss the critique part of it, even though that sometimes it wouldn't be fun to hear that your work isn't as good as you think. But there was something inside me that was craving that, especially now that I'm older. I don't want to be stagnant in my work. So I was trying to figure out how I could get my work critiqued. And then in my email, I got a message about a comic book workshop coming. This comic book workshop was created by SVS. That's the School of Visual Storytelling, and it's created by 3 people, Jake Parker, Lee White, and Will Terry. Some of you guys may be familiar with them if you're big into illustration. The comic book workshop was actually going to be headed by Jake Parker. So out of those 3, he was the main guy who dealt with a lot of comics in his own portfolio. I've also been following Jake Parker for a really long time. I've been following him since like 2013 or 2014. That's when I first discovered his stuff on Instagram. Just to be critiqued by someone that I've been following and admiring for such a long time, I thought that was really cool to just be a part of. So it was a little bit of an investment. Definitely a good chunk of cash was thrown down there, but I do think it's cheaper than going back to college. So luckily, I did have some pages of Cosmic Casuals that were already ready. I picked them out specifically on the areas that I was struggling with. When it was my turn to look at my comic, he liked it.
Tim, this is such a cool comic. So many good ideas you guys have.
It was really cool to see him like it. I was like, oh man, I'm glad he actually understood what was happening. I was a little nervous because the pages that I showed him was in the middle of the story, but I tried to choose a section of the story that was clear enough for him to understand what's happening.
Okay, now we're doing Tim. Okay, so Tim, if you guys have seen, he's got like this character who's like a chicken in a mech suit. I really love that. I love the idea of a chicken in a mech suit.
So since Ingrid was the main focus of my comic, if you don't know who she is, she's the chicken. She has a robot suit and she fights things and aliens and bad guys and whatever like that. Because she was the main focus, Jake started saying chicken in a mech suit so many times.
Chicken in a mech suit? Chicken in a mech suit. Chicken mech.
The chat kind of was teasing him and that he should turn it into a song or something like that. So he started singing it, which I thought was really funny.
Someone tally how often Jake says chicken in a mech suit. Sounds like that needs to be a song, right? Chicken in a mech suit, 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 there's a chicken in a mech suit. Okay, here we go. I'm
glad that my characters have some sort of an appeal to them. Like they're unique enough to kind of stick in your head some way. And he had a lot of critique for my story and I was really happy about that. But I think to sum it up into one thing, one key takeaway is that I probably need to exaggerate a little bit more.
So for this one, I want to push the perspective here. Let's really put that hand in the front, like he's just like really grabbing. This just isn't dynamic enough. So let's make it more dynamic. Okay, and then let's make this panel full body, like full length here, and have them simplify it so that we're seeing the side of it, almost as silhouette, and we could see that he's like, really jumping. Next one, ship shows up. And this is how I do this page. Let's really emphasize like perspective here. So let's put these guys in the foreground, ship in the background. We've got all the power is fading away so that we can see that it's been hid. And then, man, really go to town on this one. Like I wouldn't have him, like this one, he's just standing there ready to go. Let's have him like actively like leaning forward. He's just hopped up there. He didn't waste any time and push that perspective, like that foreshortening. Okay, this right here is just ripe for some more dynamism. So what I would do here is just focus on the one leg, powering up, and then shoots off towards him. And like, instead of having everything being so tiny and just having this little string of energy, like just lean into that. Show us how much power is coming out of that, because he is so focused.
Kind of looking at the draw overs that he had for me, he had a lot more dynamic poses. And I was like, wow, I should probably, maybe it's the fatigue that I've had working on this story for so long that I've kind of like run out of ideas. I think some main takeaways I learned in this session is that you got to make make sure your comic is clear over cool. We all run into this. We want to make the coolest story, the coolest action, the coolest characters, but sometimes in creating such a cool story, it can get bogged down with a lot of unnecessary things. And the main goal is to not confuse our reader. I've been doing that too. You'll probably see it in the earlier pages. A lot of my drawings, there's a lot of stuff happening on there, and then as you get later on, they get a little bit more simple. And that really hit home for me because I'm focusing too much on the cool aspects of my story, or what I think is cool, but I need to focus more on being clear, making sure that the story is clear, making sure that my characters are easily seen against whatever background they are against. So that's one thing that I thought I definitely needed to hear. And the second thing I learned is about establishing shots. Now, this is something that I have heard before when talking to friends and watching movies. It's a shot of the environment so that you know where your characters are in that scene. You can see this a lot in cinematography and a lot in comic books too. In this comic here, I feel like there could be more establishing shots to give more context of where they are. I'm closer-ish to the end, so I think it's a little bit too late to add those things in, but that's definitely one thing that I will carry on to my next story. Just making sure that I have those environments drawn out so that the audience doesn't question like, okay, where is this happening? In the sky, on the ground? Well, where is this going on? So that's another thing that I learned. I also want to let you guys know that their comic book pro class is coming up in May. It's a lot more involved. There's a lot more classes, a lot more assignments, and more things that you're going to learn then from this specific weekend workshop. I definitely think it was worth it taking that workshop, and I can only imagine that the pro class is going to be even better. If you're really wanting to level up in your comic book, I would recommend taking that pro class if it's anything like the workshop that I took. So if you're interested in that, there's a link down in the description below. All right, see you later.